Retired Colonel Sarah Storm Mitchell thought her flying days were over until a distress call from trapped Marines forced her to steal an A-10 and fly straight into an enemy ambush no one else would dare attempt. The radio crackled with static as Colonel Sarah Storm Mitchell adjusted the knobs on her ancient ham radio. Retirement hadn't dulled her instincts. Something in the strained voice cutting through the interference set her spine rigid. "Any station, this is Shadow 2-1, Marines pinned down in Sector Kilo 9. Immediate CAS requested." Sarah's wrinkled hands froze. She recognized the grid coordinates, the same treacherous valley where she'd lost her wingman 20 years prior. The transmission dissolved into gunfire and shouts before going silent. Sarah's arthritic knees protested as she bolted to her garage workstation. Covered in tactical maps and flight manuals, her fingers flew across the satellite phone, calling in every favor from 40 years of service. The response chilled her. "Weather's below minimums, Colonel. No assets available." On the television, news footage showed storm clouds swallowing the Hindu Kush. Sarah stared at the shadow box containing her flight wings and distinguished flying cross. Somewhere in those mountains, young Marines were dying because bureaucrats feared paperwork more than failure. Her cane laddered to the floor as she reached for the dusty flight suit hanging in the back of her closet. The embroidered storm patch still gleamed, though the fabric had faded. She'd need more than luck today. She'd need a miracle. But Sarah Mitchell had built her career delivering miracles to those the system had written off. The phone rang again. Her old crew chief, now working base security at Davis Mountain. "Heard you might be shopping for a bird. Storm. Hangar 12's got an A-10 due for scrap." Sarah's blue eyes hardened with determination. Some lessons couldn't be taught in flight school, like how far a real warrior would go to bring her people home. The chain link fence rattled as Sarah clipped it with bolt cutters from her Vietnam-era survival kit. Moonlight glinted off the A-10's shark-like nose in Hangar 12, its gull-weight cannon still smelling of cordite from its last mission. Her knees protested as she climbed the maintenance ladder, but muscle memory guided her through the pre-flight checks. The cockpit lights flickered to life, illuminating faded photos taped to the instrument panel. Young airmen she trained, most now retired or gone. A security jeep's headlights swept across the hangar doors. Sarah fired up the engines, the twin turbofans whined, building to a familiar roar. Tires screeched outside as IMS arrived, shouting through megaphones. Sarah released the parking brake. The Warthog surged forward, smashing through the hangar doors like tissue paper. Radio chatter exploded in her headset. "Unidentified aircraft. You are violating restricted airspace. Return immediately." Sarah adjusted her oxygen mask, her voice steady. "Negative, Tower. This is Storm 1. Got Marines to save." She banked northeast toward the mountains, the jet responding like an old friend. Warning lights flashed as she entered the storm front, turbulence battering the airframe. Ice forming on the wings. Sarah smiled grimly. She'd flown worse in 73 over Hanoi. The radar altimeter screamed as mountain peaks materialized through the clouds. Somewhere below, Shadow Team was counting on a miracle. Sarah Mitchell intended to deliver one last time. The A-10 shuddered as Sarah descended through the storm's black heart. Lightning illuminated jagged peaks that could shred her wings in seconds. Her radar screamed at terrain she couldn't see, the same valley that haunted her dreams. Then, through the static, "Storm 1, this is Shadow Actual. We see your strobes." Sarah banked hard, spotting muzzle flashes below. Berg trails spiraled up toward her. She rolled inverted, the gull-weight roaring to life. 30mm shells marched across enemy positions in a line of fire. "Danger close, Shadow. Keep your heads down." The radio crackled with Marine shouts as she pulled up, her port engine trailing smoke from ground fire. Her targeting computer died, forcing her to eyeball the next pass. Bullet holes starred her canopy as she dove again. Below, she glimpsed 4 figures dragging a 5th toward a rock outcropping. One waved an infrared strobe, their lifeline. Sarah's heart clenched. They were just kids, same age as her grandchildren. She lined up for another gun run when her threat warning blared. "Missile launch." Sarah dumped flares, the heat seeker detonating behind her. The blast knocked out her hydraulics. Storm 1's hit. Going manual controls, she transmitted, wrestling the stick as the valley walls rushed up. Somewhere in that chaos was a landing zone, and she'd find it or die trying. Sarah's A-10 skidded to a stop in a hail of sparks. The screech of metal on rock drowning the gunfire. She unbuckled with shaking hands. Grabbing her survival rifle, the Marines rushed to meet her, their young lieutenant's face bloody but determined. "Colonel, how in hell save it, son?" Sarah barked, chammering around. "We've got company." Enemy fire intensified as they retreated to the rocks. Sarah spotted the traitor first, an American-scented voice directing attackers via radio. Her blood ran cold. This was no random ambush. The lieutenant confirmed her fear. "That's Major Carson from Intel. He knew our route." Sarah's mind raced. Carson's presence explained the perfectly timed attack and why rescue birds hadn't come. She keyed her emergency beacon, praying someone loyal monitored the frequency. The Marines formed a defensive perimeter around their wounded comrade. Sarah eyed Carson's position through her rifle scope. At 72, her hands weren't as steady, but 40 years of service had taught her patience. When Tarzan peered out to adjust his aim, Sarah's single round shattered his radio. "That's for betraying your country," she muttered. Distant rotors echoed through the valley. Friend or foe? She couldn't tell. But one truth burned clear: this fight wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about honor. The rescue choppers emerged through smoke, Blackhawks with miniguns blazing. Sarah shielded the wounded Marine as hot brass rained around them. Tarzan scrambled for cover, his betrayal exposed. "This ends now," Sarah growled. She snatched a radio from a fallen attacker, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention all stations. This is Colonel Mitchell, traitor Tarzan compromising ops in Sector Kilo 9. The valley erupted in new gunfire as loyal American forces engaged. Sarah limped toward her battered A-10, its bent frame still miraculously operational. The young lieutenant grabbed her arm. "Ma'am, you can't watch me," Sarah said, strapping back in. The engines coughed to life. With one working engine and manual controls, she taxied toward the fight. Carson's men broke cover as the Warthog's gun roared one last time. The GO-8's thunderous verdict left no doubt about justice served. When Sarah finally landed at Bagram and surrounded her jet, General Thompson himself approached, his expression unreadable. Sarah saluted, prepared for handcuffs. Instead, the general returned the salute. Prisoner transports waiting for Tarzan. As medics rushed the wounded to care, Sarah's knees finally gave out, but strong hands caught her, the young Marine she'd saved. Their gratitude outshone any medal. Somewhere, her old wingman was smiling.